reveal that Metro Awakening is the origin story of the character known as Khan, I thought it was a perfect time to look into this spiritual individual that we first meet on our journey within 2033. Granted, we don't know his full story of where he grew up, what he did within the early days of the Metro, or much about his personal life yet, but there are a ton of things we can look at that summarizes who he is and what he believes in, so when we do witness his origin story, we can piece together the full thing and understand how he has turned into the man he is today. Within this episode, we will be exploring his journey with Artyom within the games and what he reveals to us about the dark, more chilling side of the underground world, as well as his character within the books, highlighting important quotes he makes, what he reveals to Artyom about the world, and also put some theories in about who he really is and what he is doing now within the year of 2035. Also, heads up, if you haven't played any of the Metro games or read the books before, this will of course contain spoilers from them, so just be warned. And if you do enjoy this video, then why not check out all of my other Metro lore videos listed below and give this channel some nice support by giving it a like and comment if you do enjoy this type of video. Also, check out the audio version on Spotify for listening to some lore on the go, as well as my merch store listed below. But for now, this is the story so far of the mysterious spiritual character simply known as Khan from the Metro universe. The metros of Moscow, Russia in the 2030s are certainly terrifying places to live. Whilst yes, living there means you get to live to see another day, you are in a constant battle against everything, from the living conditions in your stations or in the tunnels to the mutants that seek out any food they can find. Then there are the humans who have all different ideologies on how life should be going forward, with the Reds and the Nazis fighting each other on a daily basis, seeing so many individuals killed in the process, with their bodies being left to rot or for the mutants to eat. This creates a couple of new problems for the people of the metros to now face. The first being the problem of decaying bodies, meaning there are deadly diseases going around, and through the transfer of things like rats and other creatures down in the metros, things like the plague are spreading through them, causing major outbreaks and paranoia with the people living there about who is sick and who isn't. The second thing that all of these dead bodies affect is the more spiritual world to the metros. Whilst not many dare venture to some of the more abandoned tunnels, a lot of stories spread throughout about voices being there in the background, shadowy figures moving just to the side of their visions, and parts of the world outside and within it are now controlled by trapped souls that are stuck on this plane of existence, people killed from the Great War of 2013 and after it. As mentioned, many within the metros do not know of these spiritual encounters or paranormal things going on. To them, they are either more focused on the mutant attacks on their stations or their general living conditions. Artyom, for example, when living within the VDNKH station, had never encountered or even heard of these more spiritual things. This was all new to him. In fact, if anyone were to talk about seeing ghosts or shadowy figures, he and many within VDNKH would have probably thought they were indeed mad. That was until the Dark Ones started rearing their heads within the station and around the metro, forcing many to believe that there were things out there that were more mysterious and terrifying than the mutants they face currently. For Khan, this spiritual side to the world would be something that he based his whole worldview around. Whilst we don't know what exactly happened to him earlier within his story, apart from the fact that he's a doctor, is married to a lady named Yana, and his real name is Serdar, Khan's current story and path enters Artyom's at a true pivotal moment, helping him to understand more about the hidden away world of the metro and to help him open his mind to more possibilities going on out there, as well as saving him from a horrible fate. The first actual life event that we know of with Khan is within the station of Polyanka, when Khan was quoted as being quite young. Within this memory, Khan would be an active defender of this spot, where he would supposedly sit down with his books all day and just read while the others enjoyed their lives, sitting at the fire drinking and telling stories, giving us the information that Khan is a philosophical and intellectual individual who likes to open his mind to the workings of the pre-war world. As the three defenders sat at the fire discussing Khan Khan and how he wasn't social enough, the bell rings and a horde of mutants start to attack the station, forcing them into action. As Khan uses his Helsing, the initial attack was held off, but heading back to the station entrance, it is revealed that the mutants have flanked all of them, causing a bloodbath, forcing the soldiers to evacuate the women and children through the side passages. But the south entrance is completely overrun. Khan and another soldier are given the duty to blow up the south entrance to stop the mutants from attacking, but along the way his fellow soldier is taken out, leaving Khan alone to do the work. Grabbing the explosives, Khan would fight through hordes of mutants raiding the station and would successfully arm them, but would be majorly wounded in the process. Crawling to the shutter control, Khan would make it, but when looking back would witness two of his fellow soldiers, one wounded and unable to walk, with the other carrying him, trying to get to Khan and escape a horrible fate. But the mutants were overwhelming them and would get to Khan if he didn't do the shutter now. With that, he accepted their doomed existence and closed the shutter, killing them in the process and leaving the station to be void of all life. Where Khan went to after this is unknown currently, but the story of Polyanka continued to live in his memory, and rumours of it spread throughout all of the rest of the metro, as it now lay as a ghost station that no man or beast went to anymore. When we first encounter Khan within the game at least, Artyom, who was travelling with a tradesman known as Bourbon, finds himself on his own within some ventilation ducts as he witnesses Bourbon be taken by a group of bandits who were wronged by him at some point. Knowing that he would have to get through these armed individuals to save Bourbon, Artyom grabs his gear, which includes Bourbon's precious Kalash rifle, and heads towards where they are holding him. Throughout his whole task, Artyom states he feels like someone was constantly watching him, or at least watching over him, protecting him from anything harming him. He states he felt like he sensed someone helping him from within the shadows. Eventually taking out the bandits or sneaking past them, Artyom would get to the room with Bourbon, who is in a standoff with the leader of them, but sadly, Bourbon would supposedly be killed whilst taking out the leader at the same time. However, at that moment, Khan would make his appearance, dropping down from the vent above him, startling Artyom. Artyom would state that Khan's appearance caught him by surprise. However, Khan assured him that Bourbon's fate was not tied to his own. But that said, Artyom regretted his death. Stating to Artyom that he was there to help him on his journey, Khan would make it clear to Artyom that he would have to leave Bourbon's body behind. He could certainly stay with the body if he wished, but if he did, the same would happen to him. As Artyom mentions in his journal entry, that was not the fate for him, as Khan saw bigger things for his journey. Now joined together, Khan would show Artyom his new route to get to Polis. This would be a tunnel that Khan states neither man nor beast walk, and for good reason. Khan states here that this specific tunnel is filled with the spirits or ghosts of the dead who have died down within the metro before and after the Great War of 2013. Heading straight over to the pipes on the side of the tunnel, Khan would explain that they were filled with the voices of the dead souls living there as they all gathered within, encouraging Artyom to listen for himself but not to linger too long. If he does, he will be attacked by these souls gathered there who had found this lingering presence too much for them, and in response would try and absorb him. Before this moment, Bourbon, when he first meets Artyom, would state to him that there were rumours within the metros about some singing pipes, but for him, he just thought it was a load of bullshit. What Artyom had witnessed and heard from what Khan just showed him was in fact that these singing pipes were indeed real, but they weren't beautifully sung songs. They were the voices of the lost souls trapped down within these dark tunnels. Venturing further into the ghost tunnel, Khan would plead to Artyom to keep his light on at all times. If he were to turn it off, they would be stuck there forever. Quickly after that, the two would witness a shadow of an individual killed by something in the tunnel. This shadow would seem to recreate the death of the individual all of the time, and Khan would state that he doesn't think the word who is applicable here, showing Artyom that once again there are darker, more otherworldly things going on within the metro that he had never seen or experienced before in his life. After witnessing the ghostly shadows of other events within the tunnel, such as a ghost train filled with people crashing in the tunnel and a ghost of a young child looking for their mother, Artyom would write in his journal about his experience with Khan, stating, "I'm used to danger, used to the fragility of human life. I saw with my own eyes monsters that shouldn't exist exist. I walked to the ruins of a city populated by the dead, but all of that was real, conceivable. The things going on around Khan, on the other hand, are way out of my reach. I feel uncomfortable near him, even scared. When he's around, everything, all I know about the world, people, death, even myself, starts seeming nonsensical. I have no point of reference, nobody to rely on but Khan himself. Another random encounter, or perhaps not so random after all. As the two ventured on witnessing more of these paranormal events, Khan would also reveal to Artyom that he was one of the only surviving members of a group of men guarding a barricade near the end of the tunnel they were in, but that was a long time ago. Now those individuals who guarded it with him are part of the dead souls that live within and now block the path of Khan and Artyom to venture through. With this being all new to Artyom, Khan would lead the way, stating that he needs to remain silent and stay behind his back at all times to not disturb the dead souls in front of them who are still guarding the barricade. Slowly walking through, Khan would say aloud,
Castone lapio asterion manto, castone lapio asterion manto, alum ram, castone lapio asterion manto.
An ancient mantra which was used to dispel negative energy. With that mantra being stated, however, the ghostly defenders parted ways and the two would move through, with Khan claiming he wishes to keep that a secret and between only them. What actually happened within this battle at the barricade is yet unknown, and how Khan became the only survivor is still a mystery, but it certainly seems like something he wishes to not think of anymore in his life. It would be after this experience, however, where Khan would give a little insight into what is going on within this part of the metro, stating that humanity had destroyed itself so much that heaven, hell, and purgatory did not exist anymore, and instead, all of the dead now live forever down here within the metro. When the soul leaves the body, it now has nowhere to go, so it just lingers down in the tunnels, trapped for eternity. A terrifying prospect for everyone, and basically letting Artyom know that everyone's fate is now to be like the ghosts they had just witnessed, and the voices within the singing pipes. Despite this harrowing prospect, Artyom himself would write more about this experience with Khan after getting to know him and his story a little bit more, writing another journal entry stating, "To tell the truth, I first took Khan for a madman, then I got scared of him, now I admire him. There are things in the metro that the eye can't see, but that does not mean they are not real. If Khan didn't take me through these strange reaches of the metro, if he didn't help me cross the invisible hurdles, didn't warn of the mysterious dangers, my journey would have ended long ago. It's no wonder that I believed in him and told him my story. I have so many questions for him, and he seems to have all of the answers." Now out of the ghost tunnel, the two would find themselves within the station known simply as Cursed. As Artyom would say, the name was no accident. Its people were locked in an endless war for survival. With Artyom's help, he would stop the Nautilus attack on the station and keep them living for another day. But with that, it would be time for Khan and Artyom to part ways, for now at least, stating he wants to stay there at Cursed to help them out. Venturing through yet again some ghostly figures, Artyom would find that they would be standing in front of a shrine that the people of Cursed had set up, a significant place that Khan says, even in these times, we can't relinquish the things that make us human. Here Khan would move two of the candles gently in respect of the shrine and reveal the exit for Artyom that would take him to the armory station. Just before Artyom would leave, however, Khan would state to him that everything depends on him and him alone, ending with, "Until we meet again, goodbye, Artyom." Throughout this journey to deal with the Dark Ones in 2033, Artyom would only see Khan one more time within the Sparta base, where he would once again greet Artyom, stating he knew they'd meet again, but would also encourage Artyom to seek for a new solution to his problem. That war only brings about more war, death only brings about death, and that to break this vicious cycle, one must do more than just act without any thought or doubt. From this, it is made clear that Khan knows the Dark Ones are more than they appear to be, and that everyone is acting out of fear, trying to take them out because they do not fully understand them and only see them as a threat. If Artyom were to open his mind like he did with Khan in the ghost tunnel, then maybe, just maybe, he could end the cycle of war and join the Dark Ones with humanity to bring them all together in a brand new world. Unfortunately, this was not to be the case, as Artyom would end up launching the missile themselves at the top of the Ostankino Tower, obliterating all of them in the process, apart from one baby Dark One, who continued to live on, giving Artyom a new goal for the following year down in the metro. One final journal entry written by Artyom about Khan exists in 2033, where Artyom would go on to state, "Khan, I owe everything to him. If not for him, I'd rot in that anomaly tunnel. I'd never be able to reach the library. If not for him, Miller would never pay attention to me. I don't really know what kind of man he is. I don't even know if he's human at all. Yes, I was sent on this path by Hunter, but it's Khan who walks me through it. It's weird, but even Miller's subordinates seem to acknowledge no authority other than their indomitable colonels. Pay heed to this wandering philosopher and believe him. He had some mysterious power over human souls. I wish I could meet him again. I have too many questions nobody else could answer." Khan's entrance within the 2033 book, however, is a far more mysterious one, and for Artyom a far more harrowing one as well. Whilst venturing through a tunnel with Bourbon, the two would find the eerie silence of the tunnel overwhelming, and a psychic force seemed to be taking over their minds. For Artyom, he would try to fight off these weird sounds invading his head, constantly asking Bourbon questions and stopping the silence and terrifying sounds from taking over. However, eventually Bourbon started responding to Artyom in more of a philosophical way, his speech changing completely to the point where Artyom didn't even recognize him anymore, with some quotes being, "Everywhere is dark, it comes in the great darkness, and it shrouds the world and it will dominate eternally." After a few minutes of silence and vague poetic answers, Bourbon would suddenly stop and turn immediately to face Artyom and look him directly in the eyes, so quickly that his vertebrae made an audible crack. Whilst the silence rang out again as Bourbon stared at him in the eyes, he made one final claim, saying simply, "I've died. There is no more me." And with that, he collapsed face first onto the floor, completely lifeless. Artyom, witnessing this, then felt the same sound Bourbon had heard hit his own ears, but this time it did not expand and amplify gradually like it had before. Instead, it made a sound at full volume, deafening him completely, causing him to collapse to his feet. This sound that had been with them for a while was the worst it has ever been for him now, and because of it, Artyom was stuck on the floor for a good while. Eventually he would get up and use Bourbon's light to locate where it was coming from. As he shone the light towards the wall, he would witness the pipes running through the metro were completely intact, but the sound was coming from them. After much struggling and witnessing other bodies within this specific tunnel, silence came back for Artyom and he could relax once again, resting next to Bourbon's body, gripping it tightly, crying out that he will get through this. After a few minutes, hours, days, or even weeks, he simply didn't know, Khan would make his appearance immediately stating, "My young friend, you can forget your friend. He's as dead as Ramses II. Do you want to stay here and reunite with him in the heavens as soon as possible, or can he wait for you for a little while longer?" Artyom, relieved by the help from this tall man who looked to be in his 50s, yet young at heart, would plead that he needed to take the body back, but Khan would decline, stating there was no point. He was dead, and no matter what he did, it wouldn't change that fact. Eventually Khan gave in, stating he would be able to return to it at some point to cremate it, or whatever he wanted to do related to his religion or beliefs. But for now, they had to go. Within the blink of an eye, Artyom would find himself within a new station, but this one was different, as it was extremely dark due to what Khan states there being no authorities here, leaving no one to provide the light. With this, Khan would also go on to state that this very station they were in only had 420 days left before it would no longer exist, a statement that made Artyom think that the rumours of magicians and otherworldly people that were talked about in his home station actually existed, and Khan was one of them. In reply to Artyom's query about how he knew that information, Khan would simply state that the Mother Heart Python is unsettled, before telling Artyom that he needed to sleep before they fully talk and introduce themselves properly, and suddenly with that said, Artyom fell fast asleep. That following day, the two spoke to each other again, with Khan stating his official name was Genghis Khan, much to Artyom's confusion. Khan stated that he was indeed the reincarnation of Genghis Khan and made it clear to Artyom that this was indeed fact, and that Genghis Khan remains the most significant stage along my path, even though I don't remember anything from that life, unfortunately. As the two continued to talk, Khan would share some tea with Artyom, which he immediately recognized as being tea from his home station. Whilst the two discussed the concept of time down within the metro post-Great War. Does it really mean anything when you can't see the changing of the sun and the moon? In the metro, does it matter if it's morning, afternoon or evening? Are clocks just humans clinging onto the old world idea of structure? Such a discussion showed to Artyom that Khan was extremely philosophical and thought differently to everyone else he had met along the way. After this discussion, Khan would finally explain to Artyom what had really killed Bourbon in that tunnel, stating it was the voices of the dead. All of those who had died within the metro since the beginning, and because humanity had destroyed the world so much, heaven and hell had been obliterated as well, causing all of the dead to be stuck within this plane of existence, rushing around the tunnels for eternity. This is what Bourbon and Artyom heard, and those voices absorbed Bourbon, killing him and adding more to the dead souls roaming the tunnels. After learning more about the paranormal world of the metro, Artyom would be told that Khan had been met within a dream by a man with the sound of Hun in his name. This figure told Khan what he had to do, and that Artyom was in need of a guide on his mission. Stunned by this, Artyom would realize he was talking about Hunter, the ranger who had set him out on this path in the first place. But how did Khan know of him and what his mission was, making him think that Khan was indeed some form of magician? Asking Artyom where he needed to head, Khan would immediately correct Artyom's plans. Utilizing a map, Khan would call a guide found within Bourbon's backpack, which Khan claimed had mystical powers, helping one know of every path within the metro and where the dangers lie ahead. To Artyom, this guide meant nothing to him, so he allowed Khan to read it, keep it, and help him on his goal to Polis. After their new plan, Khan made a claim that the people are so scared of him that no one would dare touch his things, and because of it, Artyom was under his protection. This was shown to Artyom as when they both walked past, people cowered away in fear. But how had Khan made people so afraid? Then again, Artyom had felt uncomfortable the whole time speaking to him, so it might not be a shock that others felt the same. It became clear during this time that fear was passing throughout the station about a plague taking them, and that people were showing up with rashes on them, a lot of the time on their armpits. This fear of the plague became apparent to Artyom when a survivor made their way back to the station. The guards there stopped the man and hounded him about his health, worrying that if he spread the plague in here, it would spread to the whole of the ring stations, causing a massive outbreak. Despite looking all clear, the guards weren't going to take any risks and got ready to take the man out. Artyom immediately wanted to react to this and stop them from doing anything. However, Khan said stop and ordered him to cease what he was doing, saying, "You can't help him. You will either be killed or you will bring fury on yourself. Your mission will not be completed in either case, and you shall remember that." With that, Artyom stopped and the man ran out of the way of the guards, only to be killed down the terrible tunnel as the sound of his death echoed for a minute, but quickly turned into silence. Khan after this exclaimed that jackals always know when one of their pack is sick. The sick one is a burden to the pack and a threat to its health, so the pack kills the sick one. They tear him to pieces. After much talking, Khan got into the panicking crowd and yelled out, "We can't stay here." Immediately the crowd listened and the conversations went silent. It was almost as if he had hypnotized them and they were being persuaded by his every word as he told them what their plan was now that they had to leave. This however was all part of Khan's plan to get Artyom to Polis. He needed to travel as a caravan down the next tunnel to the station known as Kitie Guru, and now with this large group of worried people, they could go as one to avoid being killed by death itself. But the group started talking away from Artyom and Khan, and suddenly one man stood up to Khan, not believing his claims that the air was infected and they needed to leave. Khan would claim to the man that if they weren't worried about the air, then why was the man killed? With the man claiming it was prophylactic measures, in which Khan, with fire in his eyes, responded, "No, my friend, this isn't medicine. This was a crime. What gave you the right to do it?" After much arguing and threats from the man, Khan eventually snapped as Artyom could feel rage build inside of him just sitting next to him as he shouted out, "Stop it! You will obey me or you will die." With that, the man stood down and obeyed him without Khan lifting a finger, with the rest of the group following in suit, waiting for Khan to give them further instructions. After that, Khan would claim to Artyom that they are a pack of jackals. They were preparing to tear us apart, and they would have, but they forgot one thing. They are jackals, but I am a wolf, and there are some stations where I am known only by that name. Turning to Artyom, Khan would finish by saying, "But you are a wolf cub," with a hint of warmth in his voice. As the caravan of people set off, they would eventually make it to another station, but arriving there the mood changed. Khan could feel something was wrong and sought to his guide to see what was happening, leaving Artyom and the people at the station to wait for his return. 10 minutes passed, however, and Khan was still gone, with the group worrying, pleading with Artyom to get Khan to move them along quickly. This was curious, as everyone knew, especially Khan, that no one walks this tunnel alone and lives to see another day. It always had to be in a group. Suddenly Khan returned without noise, stating that he was now scared, but Artyom didn't know what true fear was as of yet. The guide had told Khan, however, that he should not take another step. Something lies ahead of them, but it was just dark, and Khan could not see what it was. Artyom, not seeing anything, told Khan, but Khan was adamant, stating, "It's all black, it's death," also claiming that they can't turn back either. The group was now split. Some wanted to go into one tunnel based on their native folklore beliefs of the darkness, but Khan wanted to go in the parallel one, stating that those who trusted him should follow him, those who didn't, goodbye forever. After much debate, Artyom would choose the group traveling the southern tunnel, leaving behind Khan, but Khan took matters into his own hands, knocking out the group's leader and taking Artyom to the side, causing an armed standoff between the group and Khan. Eventually Khan and Artyom would set off on their path, until suddenly they were met with another survivor named Ace, who wanted to go with them, as he claimed he trusted Khan, despite being the one who threatened them back at the start of the journey. As these three walked on, they would hear the howl in the distance, as it was confirmed that the other group had indeed got it wrong, and they had joined the dead within the tunnel, but it was now time to see if Khan had also got it right, or if they were doomed as well. Suddenly Ace and Khan would feel a presence forming behind them. Artyom, however, at first did not, but quickly started to feel it too, stating they had to pick up the pace and go quickly. As the three started moving faster through the tunnel to avoid the mysterious deathly presence, Ace would fall, but Artyom felt he had no time to go back and help him, despite feeling sick to his stomach, leaving the man behind, and hoped that Khan would feel the same. Khan, however, did not, as he ordered Artyom to help carry him, causing the three to go much slower, but they were saving a man's life. The death was closing in, and it was only a matter of time before they were consumed, but as they continued on, it disappeared. Suddenly, it was gone from their presence, and they were free to continue walking into the tunnel. Laughing at the relief of being safe, the three found themselves within the new station, and after a close exchange with the guards, Artyom would embrace the station and its culture of music and variety of different people, before finally getting ready for his next route to take. After what initially seemed like a simple journey to Polis, it had now turned into one filled with horrors, and if it wasn't for Khan and his mystical knowledge, Artyom would have died long ago. But now within this new strange station, it would appear that Khan's presence had gone, and Artyom was back to venture into Polis on his own. He had learnt a lot from this mystical magician that many spread rumours of, but was his teaching enough to help him on his journey? Whilst a short encounter, Artyom's meeting with this Khan, the man who openly claims to be the reincarnation of Genghis Khan, was an eye-opener, and a terrifying one as well, showing to Artyom that there is more to these tunnels that meets the eye, and without the right guide, he could fall like many of the travellers have over the many years since the Great War. A year on from the events of 2033 and the destruction of the Dark Ones, Khan would become a friend of, but not an official member of the Order of Spartan Rangers, who had now set themselves up within the D6 bunker that they had cleared when looking for the targeting beacon for the missiles. Khan massively regretted what had happened to the Dark Ones, knowing full well that they never meant to bring harm or destruction to the Metro and only wanted peace, to grow their own society and new race. Artyom also felt a similar sense of guilt towards these actions, questioning if what he did was truly right or not, feeling the weight of a species' complete destruction, and because of it had regular nightmares about it. For everyone else, however, Artyom was hailed as the savior of the Metro and was praised as such, also being given a role within the Spartan Order under the command of Colonel Miller. Khan knew during this time that Artyom's story was not at an end and stayed around to help him, and during his travels found the new goal for him. That was to help save the baby Dark One who still existed out on the surface somewhere, allowing him to be rid of his regret and to seek forgiveness. Venturing to go and get Artyom, he would wake him after having another nightmare involving the Dark Ones and humans killing each other in the tunnels. Stating to Artyom that one still lived, another ranger known as Ullman would tell Khan he was not welcome within the bunker and he did not understand how he got here in the first place. Most likely this was thanks to his silver tongue and the way he could convince people to do what he wanted, that or something more mystical. As the three headed towards Colonel Miller to explain the situation, Khan would exclaim another philosophical thought about the bunker, stating that the tombs of ancient kings were filled with whatever they might need in the afterlife. Weapons, golds, chariots. They'd sacrifice their wives and slaves to serve the lords even in death.
Reminds me of this bunker.
Ullman, however, would have none of it and tell them both to get into the lift. Getting to the Colonel, Khan would explain what he had seen and pleaded to him that he needed to save this Dark One as they just wanted to communicate with them. At first, looking like Miller was going along with Khan's plan, he would send forward Artyom with his daughter Anna, but then would go against it, stating they will take out the final Dark One as they were the biggest threat the Order had ever faced. Khan, desperate to make amends for what had happened a year prior, cried out that Artyom needed to do something as it was his final chance for forgiveness and the only way to get rid of the nightmares that plagued him on a daily basis. With that, Khan would be escorted out of the bunker and once again would leave Artyom's side. They would meet again very soon. When venturing through the station of Oktobraskaya, Artyom and Anna would find themselves in need of serious aid as the Reds had used the station to trial their chemical warfare weapons, and just when they needed the help the most, Khan along with the Hansa troop would do exactly that, escorting them back to a quarantine station for examination. Artyom would be free to leave the station and would once again meet up with his spiritual friend and guide of Khan as he would take him to a location named as the River of Fate. The reason for this was because Khan could sense Artyom was seeking forgiveness for what he had done to the Dark Ones, and this was the place he could get it. Khan stated that if man wishes for a second chance of forgiveness, the river will grant him that chance. It will bring you back to the moment before you did what you did. For Artyom, he would write in his journal that, perhaps this is why I am going with Khan. This might be my only chance to change anything. Also referencing how the whole of the Metro is now locked in another war, and maybe this action of changing what he did back on the tower could help stop this war, and like Khan said back to him in 2033, break this vicious cycle. On the way to the River of Fate, Khan and Artyom would once again bear witness to the paranormal down within the Metro, encountering electrical interferences such as a phone ringing and being lit directly in front of Artyom, almost like they're guiding him to his fate. If Artyom were to answer it, however, he would be shocked to hear the voice of his own mother, who had left this world many years ago. Alongside this shock phone call would also be a phenomenon known as the darkness, which cuts off all electrical devices, providing them with no light when on their travels, other than their pocket lighter. It is unknown what this darkness is, but it certainly isn't just located here, as some of the bandits throughout the Metro describe this phenomenon as being a form of black mist. Eventually getting to the River of Fate, Khan would shout to Artyom that he needed to think of the Dark Ones and the river will take him to where he needs to go, and that he needs to just walk into the water and not stop. Eventually the two would fall into the water and would be taken back to certain moments within Artyom's memories, the most important one being when he launched the missiles off of the Ostenkino Tower. Alongside this, the river would also reveal the location of where the baby Dark One was, as he would be captured on an apprehended Hansa train. With the insight from the River of Fate, Khan and Artyom would set out to capture the baby Dark One to stop it getting into the hands of the Reds, who wanted to use it as a weapon to take over all of the Metro. After this encounter with his past memories of the River of Fate, Artyom would write in his journal again, saying, "I never believed him, and that is no surprise, but Khan's words were true. The strange river took me to the past, the moment where I sent out the signal and destroyed the Dark Ones, and then it dropped me off at the place where I can find the last survivor of that race, a helpless, harmless child. Khan called him the last angel. Khan, I never know what to expect of him. I don't really know what he is. A traveling philosopher? A wizard? A guest from a parallel dimension? How does he earn his living? By saving people or by killing them? He always makes me feel like I don't understand anything about life and the world I'm living in. He shows me things I can't explain and will never be able to. He makes the obvious seem absurd, while the absurd becomes logical and natural. What if he is right? What if the Dark Ones were not demons, not hellspawn, but angels? What if they were able to save us? If we could overcome the animal within us and find a common language with them? What if the little Dark One that's sitting in a cage inside this train, what if he really is the last angel? What if he's going to pass judgment upon us? Eventually the two would find the exact train they were looking for, as Artyom would split off from Khan and save it from its capture. For Khan, he would travel down a separate tunnel and be split from Artyom once again, but he knew he was in safe hands now, as the Dark One could watch over him, like the angel he claimed it to be. Khan, however, would go on to meet with Ullman, the Spartan Ranger from the beginning of this story, and would travel to a station that Khan would really not want to ever see again, Polyanka. Once again, Khan and Ullman would experience visions of the souls of the dead who were now rotting away in the tunnels, as well as the weird paranormal being known only as an anomaly, a giant ball of electric energy that would kill you if you walked near it and can sense even the slightest of movements. After encountering that, the two would also have to improvise their way around a terrifying horde of infested rats running throughout the metro, but it was here where Khan's ingenuity pays off, as he would use fire to clear the path and lure the anomaly towards the horde of rats, killing them all in the process and clearing the path for the two to venture into the station. On getting there though, Khan would say something didn't feel quite right, because despite it almost always being empty of man and monster, something felt different. Ullman would spot two men sitting at a fire, saying there were people here after all, and it wasn't as quiet as Khan had claimed. However, Khan would recognize the men from his past and told Ullman not to speak to them at all, but do exactly what he did. The truth of the matter was, these two individuals were the ones who lost their lives on that same day Khan survived the attack on the station. Their presence still lingers in Polyanka, in the very same spot they had a drink with Khan. Witnessing Khan's memories of the situation, Ullman would understand more about who Khan was and what he has been through, whilst also realizing, like Artyom had, that things in the metro were more than just the living, mutants, and the rats. The dead still lingered here and there, memories trapped for eternity. If Ullman were to have spoken to the individuals, it is likely their worlds would have imploded, or the bond keeping them here would have shattered dramatically, as they only believe they were there with Khan sitting for a drink. As Khan states, they still believe they are alive, and the new presence of Ullman, a man that didn't exist for them, would have caused many problems I could imagine. With another memory experience for Khan, he would once again meet up with Artyom at a critical moment, just outside of the Red Square up on the surface of Moscow, along with the baby Dark One. At this moment, both Khan and Artyom would experience a vision given to them by the Dark One that there were more Dark Ones alive trapped inside of the D6 bunker. After convincing Miller not to kill the angel in front of them, the group now had a new plan, and that was to expose the leader of the Reds and his true ambitions for the Metro and D6 during their peace conference in Polis, was also helping the rest of the Dark Ones to escape the bunker. With Comrade Moskvin exposed mid-speech, showing that he was a traitor, murderer, and did not want peace at all, the Rangers, Artyom and Khan, would go on to defend D6 from the Reds charging into it in their final assault. In the end, however, with the help of the Dark Ones, the Rangers would be able to fend off the Reds and win the battle, with the Dark Ones being freed from the horrors of war, but they would realize this world was not for them at this point in time. One day they might return, and hopefully a new world can be forged from it. For Khan, however, he would disappear completely as well, with no one really knowing where he had gone at all. Maybe he followed the Dark Ones to their next site, or maybe he wasn't there at all. A paranormal presence that only comes to those that he needs to help guide. A lingering soul from the Metro itself, only there to bring about a new world and a new time for everyone. One where war is not a thing any longer. The cycle has been broken and green pastures can be made. Regardless, by the end of 2034, Khan is supposedly no longer present within the Metro, or so Artyom thought anyway. By 2035, the world and the Moscow metro is in a very different state. War is still going on out within the tunnels, but it is not what it was within 2034. For Artyom, his nightmares had now gone thanks to what he did back within the River of Fate, and how he helped save the Dark Ones from being completely wiped off the face of the earth. But those nightmares had now been replaced with something new. Visions of a green world. Dreams of him finding new land in which they could settle. Land that was on the surface and finally away from the metro, along with others from the outer world. Not only that, but he would also claim to hear radio messages from up on the surface, making it clear that there was indeed life outside of the Moscow metro, but only Artyom was the one who believed this was the case, with many others thinking he had gone mad. Eventually, Artyom would be able to convince his new wife Anna and the other Spartans that there was more out there, as they would venture off in their hijacked train called the Aurora with the rest of the metro they had left behind, making sure that if they returned, they were to be executed for exposing the secret they had been hiding from everyone, that there was a life outside of the Moscow metros. Life down there was just all about control. After seeing countless new areas, Artyom would find himself making grave mistakes on his journey, killing everyone in his way and letting his fellow rangers die in the process as well, something that was totally not in his nature, especially after making amends the year prior. After saving Anna from a horrible fate, traveling into the dead city of Novosibirsk, Artyom would become heavily irradiated and effectively on his deathbed with not enough blood from his fellow remaining rangers to keep him alive. In a delirious final vision, Artyom would find himself on a train filled with ghostly figures roaming about it. At first, he would be awoken by the ghostly figure of his best friend from when he was younger, Eugene from Exhibition, who was stated to have died in 2034 by Artyom in his own journal. This would be quickly followed by the dark and gritty merchant of Bourbon, who would tell Artyom about the brutality of the world and that death was inevitable even if you do everything to avoid it. Finally, Artyom would venture into the driver's cabin to witness a silhouetted Khan holding a candle surrounded by ravens, a bird long considered to be an omen of ill will as well as death and evil, as well as shrines that looked like they're dedicated to all of the dead that Artyom and his crew had lost along their travels. Khan, despite being featureless, looks and sounds disappointed as well as surprised by Artyom being there, saying, "I didn't really expect to see you here. I thought you had some other fate, a greater one." He would go on to say he remembers when he first met Artyom and how he dreamed of remembering his mother's face once again, and maybe that was why he opened the airlock to the botanical gardens in the first place and let the Dark Ones into his station. Khan would later go on to state that he will be venturing back into the metros again soon, making it clear that he is indeed still alive, that or he just ventures the line between both life and death, but then goes on to state to Artyom that this is his new world, a land where the sun never rises and the train he is on will never stop and he can never leave it. With that, Khan subtly admonishes Artyom for not remembering any of his teachings, but he will say goodbye to him and send everyone his regards back to Artyom's home of Exhibition when Khan goes back there. With that final word, Khan would leave Artyom to his new eternal voyage, one where he would leave behind all of his friends and his wife Anna and join his father-in-law on this ghostly train that never stops. Whilst this is likely not a canon ending, it gives us a little bit of insight into who Khan is. He is someone or something now that can traverse between the living and the dead. This might be due to his accepting of the paranormal and understanding how it works in this world, or it could be because something in his past has meant his soul is split, half dead and half alive, allowing him to be a part of both of these worlds. Some theories would state that he was a Dark One, and that's how he always appears at the right place at the right time, guiding Artyom to his next destination. It would also explain why Khan isn't present at the start of their journey in 2035, as he had left with them to seek new land away from the humans of the Moscow metros. The only problem with that theory is that he didn't know of the Dark Ones within the D6 bunker, unless he did and just never wanted to expose himself as being overly knowledgeable, which I highly doubt. Seeing that he also had a life in the metros before he became known as Khan, working as a doctor, would also imply that he isn't a Dark One at all, but thanks to his philosophical mindset and his new understanding of the spiritual world, he can understand them and is open to their being, which would explain why he was able to also have dreams similar to Artyom and also the same visions as him, like the one revealing the Dark Ones within D6. Who ultimately knows what or who he really is by the year of 2035. Overall though, Khan is such an interesting character with so much mystery to him. He opens up our mindset to the world around us and shows the more horrifying nature of what can happen to humanity after they leave this world, or in this case, stay there forever, not knowing if they are still alive or not, hoping that one day they will find what or who they are looking for or finally be laid to rest. For Khan though, there is much more to be explored, and once Awakening has been released, we can fully dive into everything about him and how he turned from being known as Serdar to just simply Khan, or even the reincarnation of Genghis Khan. But for now, this has been the story so far of the man they call the Magician, the spiritual wanderer known as Khan. Thank you all for watching this Metro lore video, and have no fear, I have many more coming soon, so please check out the playlist if you want to watch more about it. Awakening looks absolutely phenomenal, and it's so nice to have a game set around this spiritual individual of Khan, and I am excited to explore his lore after the game has dropped. But if you did enjoy this, please do leave a like and subscribe and leave a nice comment as well, and maybe pick up some merch if you want to support the channel financially. Big thanks to my patrons for supporting the channel and being there for me, including my small fishes, my big fishes Greg and Oxvox, my YouTube channel Wise Ones, Sith Lord 906, Video Gamer 75 and RIP City, my sharks Alfred Carrere, Jack T and Jason X117, and my megalodons Sinus, Nia Park and Hazy Thoughts. But that is all for now. Thank you so much for watching again, and I shall see you all in the next one. Spasibo.